Yeah, I wasn't gonna vlog on this trip because I've barely been watching my traffic view on Google. But what the hell kind of car am I following right now? What is this? It looks like something weird and British from a movie, and it's even got a European plate on the back. And of course, at night my iPhone's just gonna give you all blurry, hard to make out images of it. But seriously, what the hell is that? If anybody knows, please leave it in the comments because I don't think I've ever seen a car like that before. I'm usually pretty good at identifying vehicles, but I have no clue. And yay, he's going the direction I am, so I can get a side view of it. So as you can see, I'm going through Sky Harbor. It's 6:29 p.m.
It's Wednesday evening. It is coming up on 6:30 now. Who's ahead in the governor's race in Arizona? Are Democrats still leading in most of the statewide races? We'll have a close look at the very latest vote count coming up right after we take a look at traffic. Also tonight.
And day after Election Day, Wednesday, November 9th, 2022.
President Biden remaining hopeful for a prisoner exchange involving an Arizona double.
Still counting votes because that's how it works in Arizona.
It is now Hurricane Nicole. That storm upgraded as it bore down on the southern part of the state. All of this and more coming up in just moments, but right now we've got to help you get home, so let's go.
I'm really hoping I get a good solid side view of this car in front of me.
Just one freeway crash being reported right now. It's on the I-10 westbound at 32nd Street or University Drive, and it looks like we've got a lane or two blocked there. I do see delays that will start.
The way people smash into cars in Phoenix, I would be so nervous to drive something so eclectic, rare, and valuable on Phoenix City streets.
They made their way up toward that part of the valley, so that will start to slow unused about.
I'm going to head into the left lane so I can get next to this thing. Oh, that is so insanely cool.
There's a closure in Gilbert. McQueen is shut down between Guadalupe and Baseline due to a crash.
Oh, and he's in another lane, so I'm not going to really get to see him. And now he's not going to be right in front of me anymore.
On Rozier Road at 16th Street. I'm Chuck Rowe, KTAR News.
Showers in the forecast.
Well, you know,
been clearing up, but staying cold tonight with lows in the upper
I'm at a red light.
On Thursday,
Oh yeah, it's cold. It was kind of wet and cold today. I mostly just hid at home. Although I did go grocery shopping in the morning, which is something I don't do every day.
Weather brought to you by Howard Air.
It's 57. I've actually got a short sleeve shirt on, but I do have the heat on in the car. Oh, let's hear election update.
Arizona's initial blue tidal wave.
I think they just dropped another
more
count.
like a ripple with the governor's race closer than ever before. KTAR's Taylor Tassler is live in the news center with the latest election breakdown.
Yeah, Becky, we are moments away from a drop from Maricopa County after experiencing some delays, but did get a drop of 13,000 ballots from Pima County. Here's a look at where some of the major races are now. Democrat Katie Hobbs saw a slight increase, but is still narrowly holding a 0.4% lead over Republican Carrie Lake in the race for governor. The two are separated by 8,000 votes. The lead in the race for Attorney General has flipped multiple times today, but at the moment, Democrat Chris Mays is now ahead of Republican Abe Hamadeh by only 47 votes. Democrat Mark Kelly continues to hold a strong lead over Republican Blake Masters in the race for U.S. Senate, but the race is still too close to call. Reporting live in the news center, Taylor Tassler, KTAR News. And now we go to KTAR's Troy Baird with a look at the other big races across Arizona.
On the race for a superintendent of public instruction, the latest results show that the race is getting tighter. Democrat Kathy Hoffman gained 5,000 votes, but she still trails Republican Tom Horn by 11,000 votes. For Maricopa County Attorney, Republican Rachel Mitchell is maintaining a 45,000 vote lead over Democrat Julie Gonigal. The brand new numbers show that Democrat Adrian Fontes has added about 5,000 votes to his lead over Republican Mark Fincham in the race for Secretary of State. Fontes is now leading by 82,000 votes. And in the latest results, Republican Kimberly Yee gave a few thousand votes back to her, but she still has a sizable lead over Martine Quesada. She's sitting at 208,000 11,000 votes ahead now. Live in the News Center, Troy Barrett, KTAR News.
Man.
And continuing our expanded Arizona Votes the
Again,
County
back up-
coverage, I'm
back up in the left
KTAR's
lane where I
Bound
can't get next to
Overstoles
it.
with a look at voter initiatives. We're waiting on the new votes to give us an idea of what changes Arizona voters want. For now, some ballot measures are gridlocked. Prop 308, which would allow high school graduates to pay in-state tuition to Arizona universities regardless of immigration status, is still a toss-up at around a 1% split. Another measure, Prop 309, would require government-issued IDs to vote in person or early. That measure is also at only a 1% difference. Props 209, a reduction of medical debt, and 211, which sheds light on dark money, have both passed with about a 72%
Arizona's voter
of votes
ID
in
laws are
favor.
right where I like
But
them.
Prop 128 failed. It would have allowed state lawmakers to move funds away from voter initiatives if deemed unconstitutional. You can see real-time updates on all these ballot measures and all the latest races on
voted against that.
KTAR.com. Live in the news center, Ballin Overstoles, KTAR News.
Leave voter initiatives to the voters. That's the whole purpose of voter
Arizona's
initiatives.
ballots ahead of tonight's ballot drop that we are still waiting on. KTAR's Luke Forstner joins us now live with more on the story.
Personally, I think voter initiatives are one of the coolest things about Arizona politics and Arizona government.
We'll pick up Luke in just a moment.
Luke is tipped out.
There, but Arizona's role as one of the nation's most important battleground states has now been solidified. Valley political expert Emily Ryan with Copper State Consulting says nearly every major race in the state is still neck and neck, and the election likely won't be settled for days.
I think we can look forward to a number of creative lawsuits and press statements from candidates as they wait for their races to be determined.
For the latest on the November 8th midterm election, just keep it right here at KTAR. Of course, you can always listen to our election special that we're having tonight at 7 o'clock at KTAR.com or on the KTAR News app. And if you go to KTAR.com, do /Arizona Votes and find out everything you need to know. Let's go back now to Luke Forstner and see how about the ballot count that's still going on. State agencies are working to count them, but there's still a lot of ground to cover.
There are about 17,000 uncounted ballots from yesterday due to tabulation machine issues, about 136,000 early ballots received over the weekend and Monday, and about 275,000 early ballots turned in yesterday. Maricopa County Recorder Stephen Richer tells KTAR the goal is to get them all processed and tabulated as soon as possible.
The board has said that they hope to get to, 96, 97, 98% by Friday, the end of the day, and we'll make sure that we do everything on our end to get those signature verified.
Luke Forstner, KTAR News.
Now, despite a court order, voter intimidation complaints continue to roll in right up until Election Day. The Arizona Secretary of State's office has filed nearly 24 reports related to drop box intimidation. 5 of the cases happened after a federal judge issued a restraining order. All the reports have been referred to law enforcement.
Personally, I feel people are just too easily intimidated.
President Biden held a press conference today to discuss the outcome of the 2022 midterms.
A person with a gun, generally speaking, if you can see the gun, they're just simply exercising their Second Amendment rights, which is kind of an Arizona thing. If that bothers you in Arizona, probably you shouldn't live in Arizona.
Difficult opponent, former President Donald Trump, with Florida Governor Ron DeSantis.
It'd be fun watching them take on each other.
President Biden says while we don't know all of the votes yet, the prediction of a giant...
Not as fun as watching you almost walk off a stage.
Coming up at 7 o'clock tonight...
Or getting escorted by the Easter Bunny.
...presentation of our Arizona Votes Election 2022. Listen anywhere you go, live on the KTAR.
Yeah, we got another red light.
KTAR.com, and of course right here on the radio at 92.3 FM. It's been nearly 9 months since Phoenix Mercury star Brittany Griner was detained in Russia. Now she's being moved, but her family and friends don't know where to.
Griner has been removed from her detention center and is now on her way to a penal colony, but those close to her don't know where she is now.
God, why would Brittany Griner go to a penal colony? She don't even like penis. Makes no sense.
To be notified when she reaches her destination, but that notification process can take up to 2 weeks. In a statement, her agent Lindsay Pola says her primary concern continues to be Griner's health and well-being, and asks the public to continue to write letters to express their love and care for her. Colton Krolak, KTAR.
Looking at the traffic view, I-17 is jammed up and I-10 is jammed up, so I'm just going to stay on Buckeye the whole way.
Discussions so far, and I'm hopeful that now that our election is over, there's a willingness to
Traffic on Buckeye Road looks good.
negotiate working there specifically with us.
The Phoenix Mercury star has been in a Russian prison for almost 9 months for marijuana possession.
Oh, wow.
Chandler police say
I'm not allowing the Brittany Griner thing, by the way. I mean, that's what happens. That's what happens when you're in possession of marijuana. I mean, she's a member of the Phoenix Mercury. Up until very recently, that's what would have happened to you if you were in possession of marijuana in Phoenix. So, nothing personally against Brittany Griner. And I think losing her is a bad thing for Phoenix sports, no question about that. But yeah, do the crime, do the time. Like, why would you do something that's so illegal and stupid?
This storm has been pulverizing Florida all day long, but it has really gone into another gear. The wind's just ripping off this water right now, which is technically a river, but it looks like the ocean with waves, with white caps, and sea scrape.
Oh, the thing I was wowing was as I was going through the intersection there at Central, I noticed that the northwest corner was completely cleared of all structures and surrounded by a chain link fence, which means it's being redeveloped. It used to be I want to say a mechanic shop there. And that's actually the corner where I found my old school scooter parking sign that sits behind my apartment. And I didn't steal it, by the way. I mean, I guess I took it, so that's kind of stealing. But it had become detached from the whatever the stuff is that they had it attached, like an adhesive they used to attach it to the sidewalk there, or the street, or exactly, where it was. I think it was on some just kind of super old and thus kind of loose asphalt just north of the sidewalk. It was, it had completely come unattached and fell over. So, to me at that point, I'm not stealing. I'm just picking up trash.
Wanting to sell your home, you need the #1 real estate company in Arizona on your side. And that's
but yeah, those scooter parking signs were just put in such a way that it was obvious they didn't have any kind of real permanence. So I thought it would kind of be cool to grab one. Although I did have another juicer get really pissed off at me about it. I showed him a picture of it. It's like, dude, I have no responsibility to return that to the city of Phoenix. I have a responsibility to put it down in such a way that it doesn't just fall off the road. Now, it used to be the lights were better timed on Buckeye. And Phoenix in general. I just remember as a cab driver, when I first started driving cab, I drove for Yellow Cab, and their cage was located at like, I want to say about 3rd Street in Mojave, which is the next minor thoroughfare south of Buckeye and north of where I-17 goes east and west after the Durango curve. And it's anyway, I usually always tried to either when I got my cab, I always tried to go north, just because when I was driving out of the cage, I was a fairly new driver. And I was just much more familiar with the streets on the north side of town, especially, around Metro Center and Sunny Slope. So I always kind of gravitated that way. That way I could work without having to look at a map whatsoever. Or look up any street names in a street guide. Of course, at this point, I'm pretty much that way, everywhere in the valley. But I mean, that came with, years of cab driving. But I did occasionally, and sometimes I come out of the cage. I'm taking the first, pending call or cab around Although I did learn in the afternoon not to start with a pending call because you never knew just how damn old it was if you didn't hear it go pending. But that again, those are things that as a new cab driver I didn't know, and I learned more about, as I got more seasons as a cab driver. But anyway, I do remember sometimes I'd get in my cab and I'd be sitting in the cage and getting myself situated, and I'd hear a pending call or I'd hear a cab around, like in this general area, like where I'm at here, say, call pending 27th Avenue in Buckeye. And I'd be like, oh, that's, I know that's just a couple miles away, may as well grab it. And so I remember many times, coming down Buckeye from about 3rd Street and getting every one of those lights all the way to I-17. I-17 was usually not timed, but it used to be get all the other lights green. Once you got, whoa, wow, homeless guy's got his shopping cart and garbage like partially in the street there. Yikes. Most of the time I was a cab driver, you could pretty much count on Phoenix roads having their lights synchronized, as long as you, the only real exception being traffic lights at freeways. And of course traffic lights on Grand. Grand has always been a clusterfuck. But yeah, pretty much every other road, as long as you got one light green and you went at the speed limit, which on generally, if you pace yourself between 40 and 45, even on some of the streets where the speed limit was 35, you would get, she just isn't going the speed limit, la la la.
Lead over Republican Kari Lake in the race for governor. The two are separated by just a little more than 8,000 votes. The lead flipped and flopped in the Attorney General's race, with Democrat Chris Mays now ahead of Republican opponent Abe Hamadeh, but only by 81 votes. Democrats Mark Kelly and Adrian Fontes continue to hold strong leads in their respective races, but it still remains far too close to call. We'll have some live reports on the races coming up, and we are still awaiting that big vote drop from Maricopa County.
That I actually like to hear, because it tells me that there are a decent amount of Arizonans that aren't just doing a straight partisan ballot.
Still need to be counted in Maricopa County. That number mostly includes mail-in ballots. Maricopa County Recorder Stephen Richard.
Now, Adrian Fontes is the only Democrat that I voted for this year, but
yesterday on election day. That's about 100,000 more than in 2020. Maricopa County Board of Supervisors Chairman Bill Gates says 17,000 of the uncounted
I can't get behind Mark Fincham wanting to completely eliminate all mail-in voting, all early voting.
He still expects nearly all ballots will be counted by Friday.
Like as it was. Now the voting center I went to was busy, but it wasn't overwhelmed. But when I scrolled through the website, there were many of them, many voting centers that had. Many of them that had a nearly hour or more wait with over 100 people waiting in line. And imagine how much worse that would have been if nobody could have voted early, or if nobody could have filled out their ballot and just dropped it in the box and left. As I mentioned in my blogs yesterday, I didn't really have time to scrutinize my ballot beforehand. I mean, I did, but I didn't make the time to do it. And I like that billboard that says Mark Kelly equals open borders, because that's pretty on point.
another look now at the latest election results from across the country.
Your voice, your vote. They may not agree on much, but President Biden says Republicans and Democrats must work together.
The American people made it clear. They don't want...
As he continues to not work together and alienate Republicans. Whatever. I mean, that's that whole work together thing, and you know, if you look at the talking points from Mark Kelly, and then you look at what his actual voting record is, and what he actually does in Washington, it's yeah, he's a good talker. You can't take that away from him, and he says the right things, but anybody who's believing everything he says is kind of a sucker. Just saying. I think I'm going to be a wee bit late to work. Oh well. 6:49.
From Maricopa County. I want to bring in Barry Marks.
Come on, you guys. Give us the Maricopa County numbers before I get to work.
Round 2 of our Arizona Votes election special tonight at about 7 o'clock. Hi, Barry.
Hey, Becky Lynn, how are you doing?
I'm good. Well, I'm kind of like you. I'm still sitting here waiting patiently. We were supposed to see this at 6.
Well, Stephen Risher is...
Anyway, yeah, I couldn't get behind Fincham and his wanting to eliminate all early voting. And
when's this going to happen? And he just wrote back now, so it's about to happen.
Okay, so
I think we'll have the dump here any moment.
Well,
as Democrats go,
we've been saying that since 6 o'clock.
Adrian Fontes seems to be a pretty reasonable person who listens to Arizonans and seems interested in representing Arizona rather than just being an ultra-partisan.
I mean, I think a lot of us were talking about the red wave across the country. The thought here in Arizona was that Kari Lake and a lot of the Republicans seem to have a lot of momentum over the last 2 or 3 weeks. We started seeing some polls that showed Kari Lake really way out in front. Some of the polls, more Republican polls, but that we were seeing that. So to that extent, I am very surprised at how close it is that the Democrats were in it. And at least as it sits now, I think a couple of the Democratic seats in the statewide elections are going to, some of the seats in the statewide election will be won by the Democrats, which I don't know we were anticipating before.
Yeah, you know, all I got to say is you can never underestimate the
there was such a big lead by the Democratic candidates that we had seen some
low information voter. You really can't discount that.
Maricopa County vote, if it showed Democrats up by 10 to 12 points, that would be enough to make it very competitive.
I noticed on the morning of Election Day, Tuesday morning after the overnight shift, as I was walking out of Amazon, that there were about 3 coworkers that I was walking near that were talking about going to vote, and they were all talking about how they were going to vote for Katie Hobbs.
But yet we have, in some instances now, it's looking very red, and then blue over here. I guess I just would have thought it would have been more one shade or the other all the way across.
I think one of the surprises I had last night was...
and I wondered to myself what any of them would have responded. And I didn't ask them because there were 3 people I don't really know. But, in fact, there were 3 people I don't know at all. But I was wondering what they would answer if I said, well, why do you support Katie Hobbs? If they would have had any actual answer for that. And if they had an answer, what would it be? What about her positions do you like? What about her history as an Arizona politician do you like?
Maybe smooth that out a little bit, and it didn't happen. It was a huge, number one, a huge amount of votes, and then number 2, very, very strongly weighted for the Republicans.
And my guess is they're probably just persuaded by all the massive amount of negative campaign ads against Kari Lake and have not actually listened to Kari Lake speak. Although I'm not gonna lie, I do get sick of her stolen election rhetoric. I do. And don't get me wrong, I do believe that there's been some pretty notable election shenanigans in other places, but I don't feel like it really happened in Arizona, particularly not in Maricopa County. And that's because I participate with this stuff, but I see I'm already seeing YouTube comments on Tim Pool videos where people are trying to say that the printer problem that happened yesterday at some locations, that it was a
I'm going to swap you. I'll give you this, and then they get to vote in person instead.
You procrastinate like I do sometimes. You can't get it. You got to go vote in person. That's all. And then I got to tell you, we'll have decisions on the first night.
I could get behind that.
We'll have those decisions. But that's a law. That's a statute. Yes. The legislature has to deal with that.
I could, yes.
Will be on the next ballot, maybe, if someone gets going.
I could get behind that, actually. And that's what I did in the 2020 election. I was going to mention that. In this last election, like I said, I hadn't really had a chance to review my ballot. I literally opened it right before I was like, you know what? No, I'm just going to go to the polls. Find me a polling location that doesn't have a wait. But the ballot before, I want to say the day before Election Day, I sat down and I spent a good solid 2 hours just going through it and researching all the down ballot stuff that I didn't really know. I hadn't really made decisions on it yet. I didn't know as much about it. But I carried in my ballot. I carried in my ballot to the election center over near my storage. It's at a school on 36th Street, 36th Street, just north of 36th Street. What is this fool doing? 36th Street, just north of Van Buren.
Katie Hobbs narrowly holding.
Yeah, they haven't. Same. Hey, I keep hearing them repeat the stuff, and that's just because they realize a lot of people on KTAR listen for like 10 minutes while they're driving, then turn it off. So there is a lot of repetition in the news on here. I'm eagerly waiting to see if I get news of that Maricopa County drop of votes, because that could really push the needle on a lot of these races. Anyway, yeah. So I had gone through my ballot and I had filled it out, but rather than put it in the envelope and sign it and drop it off, which I had done the 2 previous elections, because I've been listening to news radio, and I've learned more about how Arizona counts the votes and how that's the thing that really delays the election, and particularly in 2020, or no, I'm sorry, not 2020, but 2016, which was the year that I got my right to vote back. I remember several days after Election Day, just being in the area. And I almost turned on 71st again. Light messes me up every time. I remember going, I was happened to be in the area, and I was curious. And it was in the evening. And I rolled by the county recorder's office where they're tabulating the votes, which is on 3rd Street, just north of Grant. In fact, I drove really near it now, going down Buckeye, because Grant is the next east-west minor thoroughfare north of Buckeye. Anyway, I walked by and I peeked in the window, and you could just see inside that building, and they weren't in any kind of secure containers or anything. They were just sitting in boxes. And this is when Republican Helen Purcell was the county recorder. They were just in these like tote type boxes, piles and piles of unopened mail-in ballots and Dropbox ballots. Like the whole room was the whole front lobby, which is supposed to be a clear area. Like that's supposed to be the lobby where you come in and there's a counter, where if you need any, want to talk to somebody in the office, that's where you go. This is not supposed to be a storage area. And this whole lobby area was so full of these boxes of uncounted votes that, like, you could tell they had arranged it in such a way that they still had paths to get to their doors to go into the various offices. And I'm just like, wow. Yeah, this explains why we don't have election results there. Or here, Maricopa County. So no, when I kind of learned that that's what, well, part of it was that Helen Purcell's office was just so horribly organized, and that's what delays it. In the 2020 election, that's when I decided that what I was going to do was just take advantage of the fact that I'm the early voter. Wow, look at all the people coming in for Amazon. This is crazy. Running the stop sign. Are you going to run the stop sign? Yep, running the stop sign. Are you going to run the stop sign? Yes, running the stop sign. Are you going to run the stop sign? Didn't even slow down. Are you going to run the stop sign? Didn't even slow down. Wow. Oh, that guy stopped. Thank you. Wow, that was a lot of vehicles coming to work that did not stop at the stop sign on Roosevelt to turn left onto 79. And a whole lot of people showing up late to work. Well, like I said, the freeways were completely bad, all of them. So, yeah, no shock there. And there's a legal ID, so it is probably straight up 7 o'clock.
KTAR, on air, 92.3 FM, online at KTAR.com, and streaming live on the KTAR News.
Anyway, so yeah, what I did is I walked into the voter location. The line wasn't too bad at all.
And here's our top story.
Arizona votes.
Do we have our numbers?
Arizona's race for governor in a dead heat. KTAR.
No, we're just repeating the same numbers. Yeah, so yeah, I brought my early ballot in with me, which is all filled out. And then I got my ballot then walked into the voting booth and just basically copied my marks from my early voting ballot onto my election day ballot, copied all my information over, and then so of course I spent very little time in the voting booth and went directly into the what do you call it, directly into the to have it tabulated right then. And again, in that election, I had no problems whatsoever. So I mean, that was the first election completely run by Adrian Fontes, and it went very, very smoothly. Anyway, I'm here. I'm a little bit late, so no need trying to run in the door, because I'm late and I can see from everybody coming in the parking lot, a lot of other people are late too, because the freeways were very bad today. I do wonder, the people that are driving in, like, to the point where they don't even stop at the stop signs, if they realize, how many people here realize that that's your best use of paid time off here. It's when you're a little bit late, rather than stressing about, oh, I got a 3-minute grace period or 4-minute, 5-minute, whatever the grace period is to punch in, so I don't get penalized for it. I wonder if they realize that all they got to do is on their first break just put a little bit of PTO on however many minutes they're late. And not only do they not get penalized for it in any way, shape, or form, but they also get paid for it. I don't know. Although, to be honest, it took me a while to figure that out. So I would imagine a lot of new people don't get that. On that note, I feel like I kind of made a new friend as a coworker last night. I think I should mention that. I think his name was Julio. I'm bad with names. But yeah, he's working as an outbound water spider on the south side, which is where I was loading trucks. And as I mentioned in my last vlog, I did about 50-50 time spent water spidering versus loading trucks. I'm just not the kind of guy to stand around and do nothing while I'm at work. And there was just nothing for me to load with my forklift. And so for me, the most sensible thing to do in that area was to park my forklift, grab a pallet jack, and go move things around. And anyway, which is kind of neat, because like, even though that's my position, I find myself kind of directing other people, and I'm not management, I just know what's going on. But yeah, at one point I was telling somebody who was clearly like brand new water spider there, I've never seen him before, and telling him not to put something in an area where, by his training, it probably made sense for him to put it there. Understand they get minimal training. And I won't go into the minutia details, but like for me as the driver in that zone, I knew exactly, no. We need no more there. We need this, but it's empty and open. That's right. We need it to be empty and open. Needed it to be empty and open until another truck was pulled in there. That almost certainly would be going through another destination. So let's not jam up the loading zone. We already got one loading zone in this work zone jammed up with shit for AUS2. And then as I kind of explained, and he's looking at me all kind of confused what it's about, this other guy, who I'd also never seen before, but he looked familiar, but I've never really spoken to him before. And he's like, oh yeah. And then he explained it to the other guy of like, why we wouldn't. He goes, yeah, well, see, that's what he's got there. That's gonna finish that truck that he's got there. So we don't know what's going here, right? I said, no, I have no idea what's gonna go in that dock, but I can be pretty much guarantee it's not going to be this. I said, hopefully it'll be LGB7. LGB7 is what we were just ridiculously backed up with, of stuff that was packed and ready to go, but no truck to put it into. All day I was waiting for an LGB7 truck to happen, and it never did happen. Although I do think at the very end of the night, Alex did say that a certain door was going to get one docked when it was available, but it never did come. But I think they did start putting product there. By then I was back on my forklift. But anyway, I do digress, don't I? So anyway, but I get the fact that he totally understood that, and then we chatted just a little bit, and I was surprised when he told me that it was only his third week, and he was talking about, well, yeah, can I put in to do this, once I finish my 30 days? And I'm like, wow. I was just impressed that somebody working there had such a solid grip of like what was going on. But then I talked to him a little bit more, and he's got warehouse experience. He's worked in warehouse before, and he's also got forklift experience. So I told him, it's like, yeah, you need to look in your app. And he didn't have his phone on him, but so you need to look in your app and see who your direct manager is and talk to that guy even before the 30 days. Talk to him like now, or tomorrow, in the next couple days. Talk to him. Whenever you see him and he's not busy, and let him know, hey, my 30 days as a trainee end in a week, and just FYI, I have forklift experience. Can I get put in for pit training? Get that bug in his ear now, so he's thinking about it already. But anyway, cool guy. Hopefully he'll be there. I love how they actually got a name now for people who just drop.
And I'm like, I don't know what we're talking about anymore. I'm completely confused.
They've got a good term now for people who
mail-in ballots that were received Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That's what we're going to have for you here in just a moment. We'll have the data from that, and I expect those to be favorable to the Democrats. The question is the 275.
Anyway, I got to wrap this up. I need to get in there and go to work. Oh, believe it or not, I was actually offered PTO today. Or, I'm sorry, not PTO. I was offered VTO. I didn't take it. I thought about it. Not going to lie, I did think about it. But really? So I'm on my third week of mandatory overtime, but you're offering me voluntary time off. Yeah, make that make sense. Oh yeah, you guys really overestimated how much your labor needs. What the fuck ever. I'm getting my overtime. Thank you very much. I'm getting that money. Anyway, on that note, I'm really going into work. Why am I wasting time like this? Because I don't like going through that door and towards that time clocks when there's a whole bunch of people freaking out about being late. I'd just rather put a little PTO on it on my first break. Oh, yeah.
Hodge,
Oh,
the Democrat, challenging David Schweikert, who would be up for.
This is one I
he's
care
actually
about.
trying for a seventh term in
district I'm
Congress. He's got a fairly narrow lead, but if there's a lot more Democrat ballots going to be dropped tonight, he could definitely extend that lead.
Yeah, Jevin Hodge is a 28-year-old Democrat and a lot of energy. He's a moderate Democrat, and that district, that new District 1 that David Schweikert is in, not like David's old district. It is very in 2020. That district voted for Biden, but by a very slim margin.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a special, I call that the Trump effect, so because I don't know what that would normally be. It's a Republican district, but it voted for Biden in 2020. So it was an opportunity for a Democrat to take it. I won't be entirely surprised if he takes it, but it'll be very impressive if Jevin Hodge beats and hangs on and beats David Schweikert there. The Tom O'Halloran district, a whole nother matter. They redistricted him basically out of it. I mean, it made it into a Republican plus 16 district, which is, you can't overcome that.
And it is a huge district. I like to call it, it's like a back.
Gerrymandering is the American way.
That covers northern Arizona. Then it kind of
The
eastern Arizona. And it comes
Supreme Court has already
Eli Crane has a pretty big lead.
already ruled on it and said that it's acceptable. Both parties do it, which I feel gives neither party the right to complain about it.
End up grabbing that Congressional District 6 down in Tucson, which is up for grabs since Ann Kirkpatrick decided
awful.
to not run again.
Thank
All
God.
right, so here's what we have. This according to Derek Garrett Archer on our friends over at ABC 15.
Anyway, I'm going in. Thanks for watching.